Yeah, my name's Sam, and I do a couple of things. My first thing is I look after youth work at a church in East London called Saint. We have our little group. It's called Saint Youth. It's an amazing youth group. I'm a local youth leader, but I also kind of look after all the youth locations in our church. So our church meets across 4 different locations. So that's part of what I do. I love that dearly. But also in February 2021, I had this initiative called Youth East, which is just basically a unity movement amongst churches in East London, going after encounter with God, evangelism and empowerment of young people. And I just thought, because I'm the second speaker and I feel like we might all be getting a little bit, tired, I thought I'd show us a video. So let's have a look at this video. Amazing, cool. So that's just a little highlight of what we're doing with youth in East London. I share you it mainly because it's fun, and just also because just giving you a bit of background of what I'm going to share comes from kind of building something like this, really. And so I've been asked to share on, I think it is, help, we've got no people. The endless challenge of youth leaders is getting help, getting some volunteers. And before I kind of get into a little bit of theory that I feel like I've learned over the years, I just want you to know that there are people that God is preparing for your work with young people. They're already prepared, they're already out there, and they're just looking to be found. And in Luke chapter 10, verse 2, it says, "The harvest is plentiful, and yes, the workers are few, but pray to the Lord of the harvest to send out the workers." Basically, what that says to me is that God has prepared workers for each of us in all of the work that we're doing, and it's our job as leaders to go and find them, to create the spaces for them to live out their mission and do their thing with you. So a little bit of theory, and then maybe I'll turn it into practice. But for me, building a team and getting people to come and help you always starts with the articulation of a powerful vision. In Proverbs 29, verse 18, it's a famous verse. It says, "Without vision, the people perish." Without vision, the people perish. Vision is your greatest weapon as a leader of young people. Vision is the biggest weapon in your arsenal. And what is it? It's your manifesto. It's your statement of intent. It's the sign on the front of the bus that you're driving. Because the thing is, imagine you've got a bus and that bus has no sign on the front of it. If people don't know where that bus is going, I can tell you straight away, they're not going to get on your bus. And secondly, and maybe even worse, if that sign on the front of your bus is confused, or maybe it's going to a different direction than you're actually going, you're going to get people on your bus who are very frustrated, very angry. So look, there are 2 situations that you want to avoid. Vision is about setting forth where you're going. And it's the most important thing, the biggest weapon you have. And fundamentally, it's about starting with the question of the why behind what you do, rather than starting with the what. I feel like as youth leaders, we're all very well acquainted with what we do. I remember when I first joined Saint, what we did was we went into church at 10:30 a.m. and we were in there for 2 songs. And then after the notices, the youth went towards the back of the room and out into a little side room. Let me tell you, if you go and try and find your volunteers by saying, look, this is what we do, we eat bourbon biscuits and we drink orange squash, I'm just encouraging you, that's not going to be the best way for you to try and recruit volunteers onto your team. What we do at St. Youth, we say that we believe that John 10:10 is our scripture. The enemy has come to kill, steal, and destroy. And the enemy is coming after young people in East London right now. He's coming after their mental health. He's coming after their relationships. He's coming after their vocation and their futures. The enemy is rife amongst our young people. But Jesus says, I have come that you might have life and life in all of its fullness. And so I stand up in front of our church unashamedly and say, look, we as St. Youth, we want young people to experience the fullness of life in Jesus Christ. Are you in? And fundamentally, I feel like that is a much better ask, a much better vision or why to articulate to our people. Cast a vision that is impossible without God and impossible without others. If your vision is not big enough that doesn't include God and others, other people are going to see that God's not in it and that they don't have a place. But if your vision is bigger than a one-person if it's bigger than one person, then they can see themselves in it. And they can think, okay, you know what, I need to sign up because that vision needs help. And so there I am, I'm ready and I'm willing. Vision, and also finally thing on vision, it's like, I encourage you as much as possible to cast a vision that comes from the deepest place of who you are. Really plumb the depths of who you are as a leader, as an individual. And fundamentally, just find what God has called you to do. Because that is the most powerful thing that you can possibly communicate to anyone else about what you're doing with young people, about trying to recruit people onto your team. Because people want to connect with a leader that is real rather than a leader that is always right. Competency will get you somewhere, but like passion, the kind of the inner calling, the inner unction that you have within you towards your ministry and towards young people is what people are going to see in you and are going to jump on board. I really believe it. So that's vision. Firstly, cast a compelling vision. And then secondly, I encourage you to do that with passion. Passion is my second key to building a team, because passion draws people. Passion draws people. Last Wednesday, I went with my friend. I've got a friend called Mizael, and he's Brazilian. He's moved here from Brazil. He's been here for 2 years and he works for Facebook. He's a sick guy. And he took me to he comes to our church because he wants to speak English better, which is amazing, I think. But he took me to a Brazilian church in Kensal Rise. Okay, I think it's just around the corner. Apparently, everyone in Kensal Rise speaks Portuguese. I didn't know that. Anyway, I was in Kensal Rise going to this Brazilian church, right? And I walk in, it's in a secondary school. It's like half a mile to the theatre. It's a glum secondary school. There's not much going on in this secondary school. But when I step into this building, the heat, the passion, the emotion from this Brazilian church on a Wednesday night was unbelievable. Like I could feel, it was a room that I felt like I wanted to be in because of their passion towards God and in their time of worship. And just to make sure you understand the analogy, I don't speak Portuguese. I had no idea what was going on in this church. The sermon was great. The worship, fair enough, I kind of recognized a couple of the tunes. But I had no idea intellectually what was going on. But in my heart, I was like, this is a place I want to be, because these people were unbelievably passionate. One of my favorite preachers and like someone I've looked up to all of my life is John Wesley. And he famously said, I set myself on fire and people come to watch me burn. I set myself on fire and people come to watch me burn. What are you passionate about? Hopefully it's your vision. Like, get that vision and get it from somewhere deep within, because that is the place that you are going to lead out of. And fundamentally, it's not about being an enthusiastic personality. We don't just need personalities that are enthusiastic in youth work. We need people with conviction, with confidence, people who have a real true belief in what they're doing in the vision that they're casting. And the principle of this point is that if you don't care deeply about your vision, don't expect anyone else to. People want to follow people who care and do it with passion. And then thirdly, I'm not sure what the time is. Thirdly, and penultimately, invitation. Invitation. Okay, so you've got a vision. Hopefully you're leading it and running with it with passion. And now it's time to make the ask. Now it's time to make the ask. And my encouragement to you is to always be on the lookout for people. I spent a bit of time as a service pastor in our evening congregation in our church. And that service, I had to do my job. I had to take up the offering, all of those things, organize the chairs, organize the team. Sure, I was a service pastor. But secretly, in the back of my mind, every single Sunday night, I was walking around going, hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Are you going to be on my youth team? Like, are you the one? Oh, you know what? I really like your personality. I like your character, your attitude. Do you want to come and serve on the youth team? And every single Sunday night, it was like my personal mission to go and find myself the workers, the laborers that God had prepared for me in our youth ministry. So, and that's kind of what I did. And I think as leaders of ministries, as youth leaders, like recruitment is your number one task. Throughout the rest of your life as a leader, you will constantly be on the recruit for people to join you in your mission. And we have join-in cards, we have sign up to youth team, but ultimately I really think the best people that you'll find will be the ones that you tap on the shoulder and you're like, come join in, come hear this vision that I've got, come here. Most of the time you'll just call it out at people that they never even knew it. They were like, what, youth? But actually, you asking, you calling it out in them, set something ablaze. Okay, finally, permission. So we've cast a vision, we're excited about it, we've made the ask, and now when they're with you, I really want to encourage you to give permission to the people that you lead. Fundamentally, our role and our mandate is from Jesus Christ and the Great Commission in Matthew 28. He says, go, therefore, and make disciples. Like ultimately, our role, our mandate is making disciples who make disciples in a ever-expanding fashion. We're called to raise leaders, not rota fillers. The people God has put into your care are not there to fill your ratios. The people God has sent your way are there to make disciples of young people. So when you invite people into your team, give away permission. You're called to make disciples. I always kind of lead in such a fashion that's like, I want to give away responsibility first, not task. Responsibility is a far more compelling thing to give to someone than a simple task to do. For example, in youth, we've got 4 leaders who on rotation lead on a Sunday, and they're volunteers, people in our congregation, and I say to them, you are youth pastors. You're not paid, but you are a youth pastor now. These young people are in your care. And it reminds me, it's kind of crazy that I feel like I need reminding this, but volunteers are fit for ministry. I have friends in Northern Ireland that lead churches and get paid nothing, you know? Like the people are in our congregations who are just as passionate about the ministry that we very privileged get paid to do. Maybe I'll finish there, but finally, I really get passionate about this point as well, about giving permission and inviting volunteers into the mission, because I actually don't think that my primary role is to do youth work. You know, in Ephesians 4, where it talks about the fivefold ministry, Paul says that apostles, prophets, teachers, evangelists, and pastors have been given to equip the church for works of service. It's actually my role to release people into their God-given calling with young people. And I feel like I'm just the facilitator, the shepherd, the person who recruits, and the person who sets a compelling vision that everyone can get behind. So anyway, there's a little bit of the theory. I'm well over time, apologies for that. But come and talk to me a little bit about what it looks like in practice. I've been doing this for about 7 years now, and I think it's legit. So let's talk about it some more, and all the best.